Most engineers don't struggle with noticing problems. We notice unclear design docs, we notice risky shortcuts, we notice when priorities feel confusing. The hard part is not seeing the issue. The hard part is saying something in a way that actually helps. Because poorly delivered feedback creates defensiveness. Well delivered feedback creates improvement. And when the goal is helping someone grow, even critical feedback is a form of kindness. Avoiding feedback might feel polite in the moment, but it often leaves people feeling stuck. Today, I want to talk about how to give feedback in three situations: peer to peer, manager to report, and managing up. The power dynamics change, but the core principles stay the same. Good feedback is specific, behavioral, and future oriented. With peer to peer feedback, this is the most common situation. You notice something in a code review or in a meeting, or how a teammate approaches a problem. Before giving feedback, start with one assumption: assume positive intent. Most engineers are not careless, they're moving quickly, they're juggling priorities, or they're optimizing for something different. The assumption changes the tone of the conversation. Instead of saying, you always miss edge cases, or implying that someone's lazy and not trying to think of all the edge cases, say something like, in the last two PRs, I noticed a few edge cases weren't covered. Would it be helpful to add a quick checklist before merging? Notice the structure. You describe observable behavior. You reference a specific example and you offer suggestions for the future. No labels, no exaggeration, a simple pattern that works well: observation, impact, suggestion. For example, in yesterday's design meeting, we moved past trade offs pretty quickly. I think that left a few open questions. Maybe next time we could spend a few minutes explicitly listing pros and cons: specific, behavioral, and future focused. That's feedback that strengthens collaboration instead of tension. With manager to report feedback, the dynamic changes. When you're giving feedback as a manager, power flows downwards and your words carry more weight. So, feedback needs to build clarity and not fear. One of the most important skills here is separating the person from the behavior. Assume positive intent about the individual while being honest about the work. Not, you need to be more senior, but in the last two design discussions, trade offs weren't clearly articulated. I'd like you to focus on calling those out in future discussions. Now, the feedback is about behavior, not identity. And the improvement path is clear. Vague feedback like, you need to communicate better, doesn't help someone grow. But specific feedback does. For example, in the last two sprint demos, risks weren't mentioned. I'd like you to include a short risk summary at the end of each demo for the next few weeks. This makes expectations visible. And one more important point for managers: praise publicly and correct privately. Psychological safety matters, especially when authority is involved. Managing up. Giving feedback upwards is often the most uncomfortable, but it's also one of the most valuable professional skills you can develop. The key here is framing feedback around shared goals, not criticism, alignment. Instead of saying, you are unclear in meetings, try, in planning meetings, I sometimes leave unsure about the priority order. Would it help if we summarized top priorities at the end? Now the feedback is about impact, and the goal is improving outcomes together. Managing up also requires awareness. Consider the timing, consider the relationship, and keep your tone calm. Upward feedback delivered emotionally rarely lands well, but upward feedback delivered thoughtfully often builds respect. It signals maturity and it shows you care about the team's success, not just your own work. A simple guiding question. Before giving feedback, ask yourself one question: is my goal to help this person improve or to relieve my own frustrations? That distinction matters. When the goal is improvement, feedback becomes clearer, calmer, and more constructive. And remember, even critical feedback can be an act of kindness if the intention is growth. Avoiding feedback may feel easier in the moment, but thoughtful feedback helps people get better. Giving feedback well is a multiplier. It improves code quality, team clarity, and trust. Peer feedback builds collaboration. Manager feedback builds growth, and upward feedback builds alignment. Across all three contexts, the pattern stays the same. Be specific, focus on behavior, and keep the conversation aimed at the future. If you found this video helpful, consider liking the video and subscribing for more practical insights on career growth in software engineering. And remember the ABCs of coding. Always be coding, and sometimes always be kind. Doesn't always work. Thanks for listening, y'all.